Okay, let's spin the wheel. You go first, yeah?
Okay. What role or identity have you had to grieve? And what grew in its place?
An interesting one.
Yeah. Grieve. I guess something that I used to play, a role I used to play that I no longer do, that I feel sad about. Yeah. Okay, in a way, it is the fitspo person. I used to be a runner, long distance, not speed, and I loved it. It gave me so much peace. It was so therapeutic. A lot of ideas, were generated while I was running. A lot of stress was released. And I used to box. I used to have a PT. I used to go to the gym, but I cannot do all that anymore. I've been actually very late, maybe about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed to be on the spastic spectrum. And the neurologist said you can actually develop it even not when you're born, but later on, because if congenitally you carry the gene, it can manifest later on in life. Yeah. So I realized that I couldn't run, I couldn't coordinate for some weird reason. Yeah, like running, even like walking fast. It was just very weird. It just happened to me, like it almost felt like one day I could and one day I couldn't. But of course, I believe it was very gradual. Yeah. So I've had to give up doing all these things.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so people think that I'm so lazy. Actually I'm not. I love to move my body. I love to perspire. I love to be outdoors and feel the wind in my face and my hair. But because I cannot do all that, I make up for it by doing a lot of housework now. So I sort of exercise indoors doing these things. Funnily enough, yes, I suppose I could get on a spin bike and I can cycle stationary, I can do the elliptical, but it's just so boring. Like, who wants to do that, right? So I rather do things that are productive, like housework. At least I keep the house clean, right? So I do truly mourn that person I was.
How did you even realize, why did you go and get diagnosed?
So when I found that, hey, how come I cannot coordinate, and it was just such an effort to just jog, so I went to see different doctors. Of course, you start orthopedic, then you go to the muscle people, then you go to the spine specialist. I literally went through an odyssey, a whole journey, medical journey, saw so many, like 4 or 5 specialists. Nothing wrong with the bone, nothing wrong with the spine, muscle is fine, but they tested my gait and they said, your gait is abnormal. So send me to a neuro because they thought maybe it's brain related, right? Did a CT brain, MRI, nothing. And she said, I am clinically diagnosing you as being on the spastic spectrum, because when she knocked my knees, right, my jerk is very distinct, and normal people is just a slight jerk.
Right.
Apparently, I didn't even know this. So she said, did you ever realize that your reaction is like very drastic? Then I said, actually, I noticed that from way before, but I thought it's normal, it should move, right? If it doesn't move, then something is wrong, right? But I think it's not supposed to move so much. So she said, I cannot say that you are unless somebody studies your DNA.
Right.
But clinically, from all the investigations, as a neurologist, I diagnose you as being on the spectrum, but I'm sending you to a pediatrician. So she sent me to, imagine that, a child doctor, because she said pediatricians are the first doctors to see this kind of condition because it usually manifests at childhood, right? So I went to see this pediatrician, which is so hilarious, right? Yeah. So she was quite amused too, lah. But then she said, yes, I agree with the neuro from my observation. The only way to ascertain is to send your blood samples to the US to do a DNA test to see if you really do carry that gene.
Do you need that?
So she said, anyway, there's no cure. There's no treatment for it. It's just to tell you, so I am. Yeah, and it's like a $10,000 test. Yeah. So I said, no need lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no need. Yeah. So I said, I'll cope. Yeah. I mean, I just know how to deal with it lah. Don't do things that I cannot do that, I fall down and hurt myself. Yeah. So that's how it came to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I've always noticed your walking gait.
Yes.
It's pretty unusual, right?
Correct,
but I never really see there's anything wrong.
And even back then I could run faster than some people. Yeah. So I was average. At least, and that's normal. Average speed is normal. Yeah. And because I'm quite fit, so I could push through the distance that a lot of people would like just drop off. So I could do normal things like you and everybody else. I could play the sports in school, go for the PE, do everything. I could wear heels and clatter around and run after the bus even in heels. So I think before it became like more serious,
right,
I could do all the things that normal people do. But when it became more full-blown, I guess, then I couldn't lah. So now a lot of things I cannot do. I cannot go and run like even I just can't. So I but the good thing is that when I could do all those things, I always told myself, don't take it for granted. For whatever reason, I just never took it for granted. Not that I knew that I was going to become lame or anything. I just like every time I ran, I would really take it in, the whole experience, the deep breathing, the rhythm, and I told myself, keep all these things in your heart. Because one day when you cannot do this anymore, because even if nothing happens, you grow old to a point you cannot do this, right? You can draw from all these experiences and just reminisce because it's a nice feeling. Okay. So I do really mourn the
How about brisk walking? Does that affect you?
I can't walk briskly anyway. So usually, like if I'm on my own doing my own things, I'll just walk at my pace. I just make sure I wear flat shoes, sneakers, plimsolls, things like that. And I drive, so it helps a lot. So I just make sure I walk minimally.
Okay.
Then I can take the stairs, so I will compensate by taking the stairs and working a bit harder at home.
Okay.
So
wow.
So what grew in its place, I would say, empathy for people who have some disability or other, who cannot move as fast as a normal person can. I've grown so much empathy because I know what it's like to not be able to just sprint for the bus without like breaking my teeth. So I in a way it's made me more sensitive and kinder as a person. So I believe that it's a cross that I'm meant to carry to grow certain virtues like patience, and kindness. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Thanks for sharing.
Blew your mind, right?
That was a big role or big identity to grieve.
Yes, very, very big. And you know, I bump into people whom I haven't seen for more than 10 years, and they knew the me before, right? And they'll say, "Are you still running? You must be still running, you know, because you look like you've kept in shape." Then I said, "No," but I don't go into details.
Yeah.
I just say, "No, I don't run anymore." But I do a lot of housework, I tell them. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, if you get a stationary bike, you can bike and watch TV.
I actually bought a spin bike, and I even bought a rower. Yeah. But I just find it so monotonous. Even watching something. Yeah. So I told myself, forget it. So I sold them away, the two. Yeah, and then I just decided, just use your energy to do things that need to be done. Yeah. And the other thing about this condition is when you overstrain, your muscles just become like exhausted. And then the next day, you'll be moving very slowly. Yeah. So I almost have to count out my muscle like money, you know. Yeah. So I always tell myself, okay, don't overdo it because tomorrow you're going to be flat. Because there are times when I had to do certain things that, you know, no choice. Yeah. Then I feel like, oh my gosh, I can't even get out of the couch, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm very, very careful about that. Yeah. So I tell myself, no lah, don't bother with all the exercise things because you need the energy to do other things. So it's okay, keep it. Yeah.
Plus you don't want to
save it. Yeah.
I mean, accidentally fall down, this sort of thing is really not worthy at this stage.
Correct. Yeah. I break a hip or something, right?
Yeah. The injury can be quite something. Yeah. Okay. Big role to grieve.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you first realize you stopped living for other people's approval and what triggered it? I think since I was quite young, as a rebellious teenager. I think as a teenager, I often knew that something was off in how my family was. Like something was just off, but I could not. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? You can only get a sense like, okay, I don't think this is very right, or I don't think this is very normal. And so then I often did things just to go against, like intentionally go against my parents, not because I really wanted to do that one thing, you know, that they say no to, but I did it because they didn't like it. And I think I've said in previous episodes before, it has in so many ways been my lifesaver, you know, helping, like the ability to rebel, I think helps me to just really move out of my comfort zone and just do things differently and not be afraid. So yeah, during my teenage years, I think that would be
okay.
Yeah. But you know, every now and then, even as a grown-up, it does come up where I maybe unconsciously I realize that, hey, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to gain approval, to gain likes or whatever, right? Then I catch myself and say, oh, that's what I'm doing, you know, and then I would put a stop to it, or consciously like make that correction of that pattern in me.
You check yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next.
What's something you used to be embarrassed about that you now consider one of your greatest strengths? Wow. Okay, I'm going to go back to the same topic.
Yeah.
I used to be embarrassed by the way I walk because I don't walk like other people, right? Yeah, so imagine carrying that with you throughout your whole life. And it's funnily enough, it's only until now that things are even worse in that sense. I've become very accepting of it, and I've actually started to embrace my disability and to be able to like now talk about it comfortably, verbalize it in a very healthy way, in a way that acknowledges my difficulties, my struggles, without feeling like I'm not as good as other people. Yeah. And because of my growth in faith as well, my relationship with God, now that I have developed one, perhaps it's because of that. I don't know. It seems to, in a way, coincide timing-wise. It's become like almost like a way to evangelize. Like people always think that, oh, there's this concept of the prosperity gospel where, yeah, if you serve God, if you walk in His ways, your life will be perfect and you'll have everything you want lah. Money, health, great relationships, peace in your life. But we all know that Christ did not preach that, yeah, and that is not what His message is for us, right? It's finding peace, being loving despite all the struggles that we have, the crosses that we have to carry. And I find that this is such a good opportunity. This disability is such a good opportunity for me to show people that your life need not be perfect. In fact, your life can be very, 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 very hard. And yet you still trust. You still surrender to Him. You still know that He provides. He will take care of everything, and He is your center, your strength, your courage, and that you can still love despite the struggles. You know, it is actually when you can love through your difficulties that you are truly loving, and not because life is so easy. I can be nice to everyone. You know, it's very difficult to love and to be generous when life is very hard on you, right? Yeah. So I actually find that it has become one of my strengths. And I remember watching some time ago an episode on The Chosen. I don't know if you've watched this TV series on the life of Jesus in His 3-year ministry with the apostles. So one of the apostles, James the lesser, there are 2 James in the 12, right? So the lesser, well, the younger James, he was actually Jesus' cousin. So James in The Chosen is depicted as having cerebral palsy. Yeah, and in a way, I have cerebral. It's a form of cerebral palsy, and so that episode showed him, Jesus sending out the 12, 2 by 2, to go and preach. He said, okay, now you all are ready. You have to go and share the gospel, what I've taught you. So, and I will empower you to heal, to exercise, all these things. So little James came hobbling with his stick and he said, Lord, Rabbi, how is anyone going to be convinced by my healing of them or my ability to heal them when they look at me and they're like, why has your master not healed you then? What kind of master is this? And Jesus just turned to him and said, James, do you know that I would rather deal with your disability, your slow walking, than Peter's bad temper, than Matthew's whatever, and he said, you show them that in spite of your difficulty, your hardship, you have faith in the Lord. And that, James, is what is going to convince them. And that is your strength. When I watched the episode, I was just weeping. And I just felt that it was for me. God was talking to me.
Yeah.
Healing is not always everything, and it's not always for everyone. There's a purpose why I allow certain things to happen, like disability, for a greater good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when he heard that, he was like so empowered, and then he hobbled away, ready to go and like preach the gospel and heal people. Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. I always believe that to be healed doesn't mean you have to be 100% perfect. Because the healing is very internal, right? It's your relationship with yourself, with your God, with how you use whatever experience you have to be in this world.
Yeah.
And that's healing rather than the whatever handicap, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental handicap, right? It's so healing, I think people have a very wrong idea about what healing is about. They expect, like say, oh, but you talk about miraculous healing, then how come you cannot walk normally, right? Like in their minds, like they want you to be perfect, in a sense, but it's not so much that.
And if you heal physically but you don't heal emotionally and spiritually, then there's no point also.
How old were you when you became conscious of the way you walk?
When I went to school. Because when you're not among your peers, you don't. Adults are very discreet. They don't say anything, and obviously my parents, they know, and they treated me very normally. I never had any extra special aids or anything. So it's only when I went to school, of course, teachers noticed, and my friends, of course, also noticed. That was then.
Okay. Did they give you a hard time, like teasing you?
Strangely, no. I mean, if they did, I didn't know. But they would ask, they would wonder, like, oh, what happened to you? Like, did you fall and hurt yourself?
Okay.
They were curious rather than mean about it.
Okay. That's nice to have kind people.
Yeah.
Why do I keep getting these kind of questions? When did you last choose yourself over a relationship, and what did that cost you? I guess it depends on what relationship we're referring to.
So many types, right?
Yeah, there's so many types of relationship. Maybe let's talk about what just happened today. It's my relationship with a potential client. This potential client, wants to save his marriage.
Okay.
And I asked him to fill in a form. And then he texted me and said, can I just call you and tell you I'm not very good at writing? I said, you have to do the work. In my mind, I'm thinking, if you can't even do this email, how are you going to save your marriage? Saving marriage is a lot harder
than writing an email.
Exactly. There's so much work involved, right? You have to get out of your comfort zone. So in that sense, I chose myself, my professional relationship, and having that boundary over giving in to someone who sounded so desperate. And I told him then we're probably not the right fit. I don't want to work with people like that who are not even going to put in the effort. So that's one. So what did it cost me? It cost me a new client. But I can get another new client.
Yeah, there'll always be new clients.
Yeah. If I'm going to talk about friends, what did it cost me? I don't think it cost me. I mean, if I have to choose myself, if let's say I'm cornered, right, and I have to choose the relationship over myself, then it's not a real relationship to begin with. And if that person disowns me or tells me that, you're not you're a terrible friend, or I don't want to friend you, then whatever, right? I don't see that as a loss. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see that as a loss.
Alright.
Okay, next one. Let's go.
Okay. How do you distinguish between loyalty and self-abandonment in a complicated relationship? Wow. I think loyalty is up to a point where, yes, you still are faithful to someone, you still do the loving thing without accepting abuse. Yeah, so that's where you still, yes, you stick around, you be there, you have to be present, you show up, right? Yeah. But when you start allowing abuse on the pretext of being loyal, then you've abandoned yourself. Yeah, self-love. You've abandoned self-love. Yeah, for a very disordered form of loyalty. Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be a complicated relationship. It doesn't even have to be a marriage. Like even with friends, I see a lot of it going on, and there's always like one always for whatever reason has the upper hand, because she can just talk louder and just have a worse temper. It's always like that. No real advantage, but just just meaner and nastier. Yeah, and I see that happening around me. Yeah.
I like your definition of loyalty. I think sometimes people get very confused, right? Because they can be very loyal to a nasty friend and they kind of approve what the nasty friend is doing, even like your own values are diminished because you want to stay loyal to your friend, but then like
you condone their bad behavior.
Yeah. So loyalty in a sense is, I think, is used in a bad way lah.
I think I believe in standing up for people, especially when I know the truth or I know some things that people don't know about that person, and especially when they're not there to defend themselves. But definitely don't condone their bad behavior and compromise your own values and integrity.
I had an experience once when this is very petty. It was a neighbor who expected loyalty because she wasn't speaking to another neighbor, but then I was friends with the other neighbor. Then she got angry with me for speaking to her, and I'm like, hey, we're not kids in school, like your problem with her has nothing to do with me. So that kind of very strange expectation of where your loyalty lies.
You can't expect that. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, sorry, you are recording, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because you stopped when we had a little side conversation.
No, I didn't stop the recording.
Oh, okay.
I'm just not going to show it.
Okay.
This is mine, right?
Yes.
What's the difference in your experience between someone who's difficult and someone who's actually unsafe? Wow.
You're right up your alley lah.
Yes. I think the line can be very, very grey because we are very quick to forgive difficult people, but people who we feel very obviously unsafe to be with, we are less forgiving, and we'll draw a very clear line and say, okay, I'm not, this person is violent or whatever, I'm not going to go near them. But difficult people, we tend to want to put up with it. But here the definition of difficult people also needs to be defined. Difficult as in being toxic. Because I can be called a difficult person because I call someone out. then I'm called difficult. But I'm not toxic, you know what I mean?
Correct,
I'm calling
correct.
someone out for their bad behavior,
Correct.
but I can be named difficult in the process as well. But here, I think in the definition we want to use is someone who's toxic. I feel the line is very grey because when someone may be physically violent, or someone is not physically violent, but they are very emotionally toxic, you can also be very unsafe. They emotionally abuse you, and they're toxic at the same time. In that sense, I don't think there is a very clear line, because the toxic people tend to be unsafe to be with, whether physically or emotionally.
Yeah.
We cannot so easily just forgive people who are emotionally unsafe. I mean, like physically, they're not going to harm me. I'm okay, I can hang out with them. No, you shouldn't be. You know, you still
agree.
shouldn't. Yeah. You know, just because you feel like they have no capacity to physically harm you, they can harm you a lot emotionally.
Emotional trauma is very real.
It's very real. Yeah, it's extremely real.
And sometimes, often it's harder to heal from.
Yes.
Than a physical injury, right?
Yes. Yes. It takes longer. And the chances of being re-traumatized from emotional abuse is very, very high. It happens over and over and over again, especially with family, right? If we do not take matters in our own hands and do some healing or self-introspection, we can get re-traumatized over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's far often than people realize.
Yes, like all the triggers. Right? I mean, someone may say something very harmless, but because it, like, you are being re-traumatized by a harmless remark because of that very, very deep trauma you experienced. It has bad repercussions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very enlightening.
Yeah.
Good for people to know this.
Yes. Good for people to know.
If you could say one honest thing to someone you've had an ambivalent connection with, someone who'll never hear it, what would it be? Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, I don't even have to mention who I'm thinking of. I would say, people also would like to share their experiences and what's been happening to them, and it's not always about you. It's not always about what's happening to you, and conversations should be almost like a tennis match rather than a performance where we all sit quietly and watch one person just go on and on about whatever topic that person wants to discuss. So that's what I would tell that person.
I feel like in any social gathering, right, if one person dominates, then it becomes tiring. Other people are like, it's like you lose energy. You're not interested.
It's weird, isn't it, that when you are not actually talking, you feel zapped. You feel exhausted. Just like having to listen to this one person.
Maybe the person is just taking energy. Okay. Last one, okay?
Okay. Oh, wow.
What does your body do when you're around someone you love but don't quite trust? This one I've had a lot of experience. I get the cringe factor. Like, with my ex-husband, I'm not sure whether I shared this with you before, but with my ex-husband towards okay, not even towards the end, it was midway through the marriage, I already had a cringe factor, and I could not understand. Like, why I feel so creeped out. Why is it I don't like him to be near me or to touch me? I think my body was doing a lot of communicating, right? But then my mind, I wasn't even listening. Not even
caught up in a sense.
I haven't caught up.
Okay.
And looking back, of course, there was a lot of throughout the entire marriage, I did not trust him. I did not trust him to show up. I did not trust him to be there even when I was giving birth, pregnant and all. And that's why I got a doula, a birth doula.
Okay.
Because I needed someone there, and I just felt like he's not going to be the one to show up. Yeah.
Okay.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But I was just thinking, it's so hard to how do you love someone whom you don't trust?
Actually, yeah, it's a good question in a sense that you are not really loving that person. You think you are. Yeah, you only think you are loving them, but actually you don't. I mean, the minute you don't even trust the person means that you don't even love the person, but you don't know that you don't love the person. Sounds weird, right?
Yeah. I mean, okay lah, we are all called to love everybody, right? Even strangers. So yeah, in a way, in a Christian way of looking, yes, you love everyone. Yeah. But when you're talking about relationships, it's a bit doesn't the trust have to come first before you say, okay, I give my heart to you, you know?
Yeah. I think love, relationships are so complex, right? I mean, it's a lot of it is like our own inner stuff that gets so muddled up that we don't even
of course
see things.
And even don't even talk about intimate relationship, even between friends, it can get so complicated, and one person saying this, you know, the different meanings that can be misconstrued, or maybe that person means it in a certain way. It's like very difficult also not to read into what is said and shared, and or actions, people's actions, or reactions, right?
I think as long as there's any human beings in any situation, there will always be politics. You know, people often say, oh, but I thought this is like an NGO. I thought this is a religious organization. I thought this is some charity.
This is ministry,
Yeah. And I say, well, as long as they're human beings, there will be some kind of strange politics or something going on.
The disordered human condition.
Yes, for sure.
Oh well. Okay.